Hail, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to the Gods and Goddesses series. Today we are discussing the god Heimdall. He is a Germanic / Norse deity that is a member of the Aesir. Heimdall is the Watcher, the guardian of Asgard. Perhaps he is best known for his role as guardian of the Rainbow Bridge Bifrost. He is said to remain vigilant for events that will kickstart Ragnarok, the quote-unquote end of the current cycle, at which moment he will blow his horn, the Gjallarhorn, to alert the gods that Ragnarok has indeed come, and that the Jotun, led by Loki and Surtur and other figureheads of a representation of chaos, to finally overthrow the order of the gods as they have established throughout the world. And that, of course, once the whole world and pretty much everybody, or almost everybody, has ceased to be, Balder assumes his throne after rising from the dead, and a new cycle under Balder starts. So that is a pretty grim introduction, of course, but I can't imagine that anybody who is at all familiar with the Germanic pantheon is not in some way, shape, or form familiar with this particular deity. So, as is hopefully obvious, Heimdall has a rather grim, severe duty that he attends to. A duty that he is constantly, pretty much constantly, I should say, undertaking. He keeps watch, he keeps vigil, tirelessly. He is said to need less sleep than a bird, and he is said to basically have a counterpart, an opponent in the god of mischief, Loki, the trickster god. He is a stark contrast. He provides a stark contrast to the dutiful and stalwart Heimdall, who is unwavering in his duty. And it is Loki, of course, who at Ragnarok kills Heimdall, or so it is said, while at the same time being slain by Heimdall. And Heimdall has his own hall, a fortress which sits at the top of Bifrost, Himmelbjörg, if I pronounced that correctly. Once again, my Old Norse is not the best. I am Dutch, not Scandinavian, so you will have to excuse my pronunciation here and there. Heimdall was said to have 9 mothers, all goddesses of the sea, and it is not reported that he has a father. And as I discussed in Manas, the video that I did on Manas, my Elder Fufar Rune Divination 101 video, which is of course my initiatory video that I made at the end of Manas after I was initiated into that particular rune. It is said that Heimdall was, in some renditions of the myths, said to be the father of humanity and establisher of the old Germanic and in particular Scandinavian Norse societies. So in other, of course, in other mythologies, Heimdall is not the father of humanity, and we are originating with Ask and Embla, or Ash and Elm, as created by Odin, Vili, and Ve, so Odin and his 2 brothers, as they sprang from Ymir's sweat. Or, well, after they sprang from Ymir's sweat, not right after they came out of it, I should clarify that. So in that video, I also discussed that some myths hint at the possibility that Heimdall, like Odin, may have sacrificed a part of himself at the Well of Urd, the Well of Wisdom. So in these renditions, Heimdall is said to have given a portion of his ear, most say that it is his ear lobe, to the Well of Urd, and that is likely of a similar nature for wisdom, insight, certain powers that he may have received as a reward for this sacrifice as the Well of Urd. Now, of course, Odin sacrificed his eye, and I have speculated in previous videos that in this case that was his third eye, perhaps, at least for a time. But that is neither here nor there. The point is, of course, Heimdall is in certain renditions is said to have also sacrificed to the Well of Urd, and therefore is a powerful deity who has also many gifts and capabilities, many duties, and many spheres of influence that we can call on him for. And that is, of course, coupled with the necessary and required sacrifices in return, as always a gift for a gift. Heimdall is, in my experience, as you might expect, a rather stoic but friendly deity. I have, to be perfectly honest, not spoken all that much with him because, well, like him, I am a very straight to the point individual, so I do actually appreciate that part of his personality about him. Basically, when I approach somebody, I'm like, this is what I would like from you. What would you like in return? Can we make the trade? Can we make the exchange? Do you want me to do this for you or in your name? Will you then, in turn, do this for me? And in this case, I have experience with making contracts with Heimdall, as I have experience with making contracts with pretty much all deities that I do videos on, by the way, just for the record. Heimdall is a very patient individual in expectations and in undertakings, as fits, of course, the deity of watchers and guards. He can at times, in my experience, be a little gruff, blunt, and straightforward, and I say that with the utmost respect. I'm not saying that to insult him, because in my opinion, and understanding what kind of deity he is and what the job is that he is doing, that is a good thing to have. Not wasting time, being straight to the point, being direct, being forward with the things that are required of him. Which does lead me to a very particular point that I do want to emphasize here. Heimdall is a very dutiful god, like Tyr, and I know I have not made a video on Tyr yet, but I have done my runic initiation on Tiwaz, of course, so I do have some experience with Tyr. Feel particularly connected to the rune of Tiwaz for various reasons. So I do find myself connected to the more dutiful, protective energies of deities like Thor, like Heimdall, like Tyr, even though I would not consider myself as rigid, perhaps, as Heimdall. I do find that particular attribute of watching over and doing duty and stuff like that to be very appealing when you interact with Heimdall. When you promise Heimdall something, just like when you promise Tyr something, and, well, indeed, you should do whatever you promise to all the gods, really, whenever possible and when you can, and provided that circumstances do not completely fuck you over, because I did have that happen here and there. But when you make a promise, in some way, shape, or form, to Heimdall, when you say that you do something, do it, and do it on time. It is expected of you. And if you don't do that, then there is, of course, a losing reputation, losing respect, I guess. That might be something that may happen if you do not have a very, very valid reason for things to go awry. So Heimdall is a great and powerful deity to call upon for the magician if he seeks assistance or if you seek assistance, if you seek inspiration for the following areas. Heimdall can be called on as watcher, as protector, for several different areas. For example, if you are someone who finds themselves under attack by other magicians, if you find your finances to be threatened, if you find your business to be targeted, or if you find yourself a target for any other kind of negative energy or negative influences in your life, or if you wish to protect someone near and dear to you that is perhaps dealing with some shit here and there, or some significant issue in some way, shape, or form that you are dealing with and that you would like to have added assistance and protection in some way, shape, or form with, then Heimdall is a very good, interesting, powerful, capable deity to call on. As always, in return for appropriate offerings, in exchange for suitable gifts and services, etc., Heimdall may assign his spirits to watch over you, to watch over your business, to watch over any area perhaps that you have called on him for, to provide protection, to provide vigil, to function as a sort of alarm system, where the spirits in question will perhaps alert you to certain issues that may be going on. Of course, this requires you to have spirit communication, to have the capability to communicate with spirits. But it is my understanding and my experience that they will let themselves be known if there is indeed a significant issue that is going on. So when something is amiss, for perhaps with, I don't know, somebody that you asked Heimdall and his to watch over, the spirits will likely warn you in some way, shape, or form that there is an issue with that particular person. For example, your grandma lives in a very bad neighborhood. You worry for her safety, uh, and you asked Heimdall to protect or watch over your grandma. So suppose that your grandma has just had a burglary happen, or that somebody is considering a burglary. The spirits will likely let you know that that this is going to be the case, or that this has happened. So that way you can ward off in a variety of manners your own quote-unquote personal Ragnarok, I suppose, to avoid disaster and to avoid negative things from escalating further than they need to. So another way that Heimdall can assist is through helping you with energy, with gaining energy, with finding energy to complete something, to help you find focus, to help your management capabilities in that sense, to help you to find the energy to go on, to help you to divide your energy better among different tasks. For example, if you're feeling tired in your duty, in your work, if the repetition of a meandering job is starting to get to you, but mentally you're just completely burned out and you're about to quit your job, even though, perhaps you may not really have any other option currently than to continue your job because you need the money to put food on the table. Um, Heimdall can help you to gain that mental fortitude, to continue on, to continue pushing, to continue doing your duty to your family, to yourself, to continue providing food on the table, to continue providing finances for yourself, your family, your spouse, your kids, etc., etc. So if there are matters hidden to the sight of the magician, as the Watcher God would obviously be capable of doing, perhaps if divination is not entirely clear or certain, Heimdall can assist with perception, knowledge of the unknown, because he can clearly, of course, see many, many things that most other deities perhaps might not even be able to detect. He is, after all, the Watcher that sees nearly everything that transpires in the nine worlds. Now, I see nearly everything because I am of the opinion that the gods are not flawless. They're not all-powerful, omnipotent, and omniscient. Not even Heimdall is omniscient, even though he is the Watcher. But if there is anybody in our pantheon who would be able to know such things, it would be Heimdall, or perhaps Freyk, because she is, of course, said to, quote-unquote, know all things. But with Freyk, the issue is this, that she said that it is said, of course, about her that she speaks of none of these things. So she speaks to none of these things. So that may be something to take into consideration. So be careful, of course, however, with this, because sometimes if if you ask certain questions and you get your answers, you may not want to have known the answer after all in hindsight, and once you know the answer, there's not much that you can do about it afterwards. And I'm saying this to those who perhaps may want to know if their spouse is cheating, do a divination, consult Heimdall. Heimdall says yes, you're heartbroken, you confront them, you find out that it is the case, your entire family life gets turned upside down. Okay, great, you have your answer, you know what it is, but now your entire life is turned upside down. In my opinion, that is for the better, of course, but some people may deal with such particular situations a little less efficiently, I guess, than others might. So that is a fair warning to you. Be careful what you ask for, because you just may know it, and in some cases that answer may not be the answer that you seek. And this does, of course, because of his perception, also mean that Heimdall can assist with penetrating invisibility spells. It may mean that he can penetrate through shrouds, through other forms of magical and spiritual obfuscation, as well as reveal the location of certain items, certain things, certain people, certain spirits perhaps, that one is seeking after. And Heimdall can, of course, assist with the practicing of such things themselves, such as through divination, through scrying, through utilization of black mirrors, of crystal balls, things like that. Of course, Heimdall can not just assist the magician in honing their perception of things unseen, but also in the honing of mental perception and mental sharpness, mental clarity, wit. Being a watcher and guardsman is, of course, not just about standing, watching, observing. It is also about being able to tell the difference between something harmless and something which could potentially cause problems, either directly or down the line. So Heimdall is also a deity of foresight in that sense, where you can discern things that others perhaps would not be able to discern. So lastly, Heimdall may, as I kind of have already mentioned briefly, he may be called on to maintain order in the face of impending chaos and collapse of a structure of some sort, because, as I said in the beginning, Heimdall is also a deity that may facilitate order and law. So whether this is in a group or circle of friends and partnerships, like relationships, or greater than that, Heimdall may be called on to assist for the appropriate price, of course. Offerings to Heimdall, lastly, can consist of a multitude of things, not all of which are physical objects. So this is something that you need to understand when working with Heimdall. Heimdall is about doing things. Heimdall is about doing your duty. Heimdall is about putting into practice certain things. Not all deities that I have listed in this series, of course, call necessarily for such devotional actions, although most have certain areas and spheres of influence where this is appreciated. Heimdall is very much focused on doing one's duty and performing certain tasks, doing certain things in his honor, perhaps, or just because you feel that it is your duty, or because you feel that this is the right thing to do. So let us begin with the physical objects, however. Mead, beer, coffee, and I have found in particularly coffee that you brew at home, so that you make home brewed rather than caffeinized drinks, are very good offerings to Heimdall. In fact, the first time that I approached Heimdall, I gave him an offering of coffee, and I felt that that was much appreciated. Even though I had beer at home, I felt that coffee, for the purpose that I approached him on, was a good offering, and I feel that that was accepted in that sense. Meat, of course, is also an acceptable offering. Some say his animal is the ram, the animal associated with him, that is. So related meat to that might be a mutton, lamb. Those would be good choices for meat, but I do believe that most meat would be a good, appropriate offering for Heimdall. Candles would, of course, as always, be good offerings. I think most deities accept candles being burnt in their honor in some way, shape, or form. If I had to choose colors, I would choose bright colors, yellow, orange, perhaps red. Why? Because of the illumination aspect behind them. Because those colors are often associated with fire. Fire is associated with illumination, and that reveals things, which is what Heimdall is, of course, as the watcher deity, meant to do. He is meant to watch, to observe for things that are noteworthy, and I feel that this is a fitting gift to the god of watchers. So I also think, actually, of course, that orange is a good color because it relates in magic to confidence and energy as well, and Heimdall also assists with energy and with empowering and gaining the mental fortitude to continue. That said, I also feel then that a mixture of yellow and red, of course, as well, the other two colors that I already listed. Now, in terms of the mind aspect related to Heimdall, perhaps purple, because the upper two chakras are usually related to the color purple and or indigo. So I feel that that might actually be a interesting color to offer Heimdall if you are approaching him for issues that deal more with perhaps mental fortitude or with mental wit, with sharpness of that nature. So in terms of incense, I would go with incense that smells a bit heavier, a bit more earthy in nature. And whatever that is, I will leave up to you. Perhaps you have incense that smells just a bit more darker, perhaps, I don't know, cinnamony, if it exists, I don't know if it exists, coffee incense maybe. Incense that would be about trees, I guess. Trees that smell a bit, or incense that has a bit more of a heavier, earthy, tree-ish kind of smell. Um, so alternatively, you could of course just go with the basic quote-unquote pagan incense, or incense that is themed around protection, that is themed around, such as dragon's blood, I suppose, might be a very adequate type of incense that would be offered to Heimdall. In fact, I have, now that I think about it, because I said cinnamon earlier, I have a incense package, which is literally just called Protection, which I use a lot in my workings. It has a cinnamony smell to it, so perhaps that may be something that you may want to consider if you wish to provide offerings to Heimdall. Now, if you work as a, I don't know, a soldier, security guard, somebody that stands on duty, attention, or alert a lot, it is a good offering to Heimdall to take that duty seriously, to at all times make sure that you are watchful, that you are attentive, that you are standing at attention, and that you make sure that you are doing your duty as is prescribed to you to the best of your ability and capability. Another thing would be to teach others, to empower them, to inspire them, to motivate them. Those would all be good offerings and devotional acts to the deity as well. I have read people say that they think that it is a good offering to search for things, to search for missing people, perhaps. So, for example, if you have, I don't know, an Amber Alert in your area, perhaps assist with helping to find the individual, do what you can in that sense. If there is a missing pet or something like that, and you may have any information about that, pursue that. If somebody has lost their, I don't know, their wallet or whatever, or their phone, or any other object or item of importance in our modern era, that might also be something that you may want to pursue as a devotional act to Heimdall, and of course because it's just, the right thing to do for your fellow human being. So another thing would be to protect something in some way, shape, or form. And how you would choose to interpret that last bit, that is entirely up to you, because protection takes many, many forms, whether that is, like I do, magically protecting individuals, being a spiritual warrior, whether that is in the terms of a soldier, a physical soldier, protecting your country, doing your duty in that sense, whether you are a security guard assigned to protect a property. These are all possible interpretations of doing your duty, of providing protection for something, for someone, or for groups of people, for entire nations. These are all honorable, good things in the eyes of Heimdall. So that is what I would like to give you, and I would ask you to like, comment, subscribe if you liked the video, if you liked the material herein, and if you would like to see more, of course, so that you may follow my channel. And thank you all so much for watching. My next video will be on the deity Bragi, who is the god of skaldic poetry, among many other things. And it would be my pleasure to have you join me in that next video. Thank you all so much for watching. Hail!